Well, good morning, fans of North Posey football and fans of football in general. We're here at Viking Field for the first Joe Gengelbach show, and the Vikings came off a tremendous victory last night against a very tough Southridge opponent, I think ranked 5th in the state coming into this game. Of course, that's early season polls, but still a tough Southridge team. Coach, we had to deal with the weather. We had an hour intermission there, and it was an overtime game that put a lot of special twists into the game. You know, the coaches and the players and yourself obviously were prepared to play that game, but how did you go about that? What did you feel was special about the week leading into this game?
Probably the biggest thing I think that we stress this week, first of all, our coaching staff works their tail ends off. I've got one of the best staffs probably, I think, in the state. And they break down film, we looked at things, we looked at certain things that we thought that we could do, and we wanted to get the kids to believe in what they could do. I think one of the biggest things this team has had to work on is their own self-confidence. We've preached from the beginning of the year that they can be a good football team, but they have to believe and play with enthusiasm and play with their heart. And we've stressed that greatly in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I think as they see the season unfold and they know that we've played some good football teams. In fact, I think somebody figured up last week that in the first 4 games that we played, the records have been 13-2, and that's pretty good in any league that you talk about. And I think that we're finally getting over that hump to where they believe that they are right up there with everybody else.
Well, they surely were. They were competing the whole time last night, regardless of what the conditions were and the adversity that came their way. You know, as this team matures, that was the 4th game. We're going into the 5th game against a tough Heritage Hills opponent. What are the keys to that continued success?
Well, unfortunately, we've got to enjoy this weekend, and then we have to put this behind us very rapidly next week when we start practice. Heritage Hills is one of the foremost programs, and have shown that they're one of the foremost programs probably in the state. Their kids are well coached. Their kids are not going to make mistakes. We're going to have to play air-free, and we're going to have to do the things that we do and play within ourselves. And I think that was one of the things that our kids did last night. The things that we do well, we didn't make too many mistakes on, and we had a couple turnovers that hurt us, but in turn in a game, so did Southridge. And we were fortunate enough to be able to capitalize on a couple of them. Just started throwing things in. We had a big interception in the first quarter. They were driving the ball, and then we had a block punt, which made a big difference in the game, I thought, as the game unfolded. So we're starting to play, I think, with a little more belief in what we're doing, a little more confidence, and feeling like that the things that we're doing and that the kids are doing as they say, they're buying into it, I think, much more.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned Michael Smith's interception, which was a phenomenal interception, very well timed, and Jake Sapp on the block punt, you know, plays of passion and a lot of effort go into those. And after such a great team victory, you want to be awfully careful about pointing out any individual coach. But I thought one thing that you know, I think generally was observed last night is the line on both sides had a very nice game.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. I thought that our defensive line really stepped up. We helped. This was one of the nights that I thought that we were taking out some of their blockers, giving our other people a chance to run to the ball a little bit. We were forcing them to run the ball where they did not want to run the ball. And then offensively, when we needed to get that yard or two to keep a drive alive, I thought the kids really stepped it up. Our pass protection has been real good all year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Michael's had time to throw the ball, and as long as we've got time to throw it, you know, that gives you an opportunity to do some things offensively that you need to do. But I thought our offensive and defensive line played by far the very best game that they've had all year.
Yeah, I think all the fans would agree with you out there. Another thing that's so key, you know, we had just an absolute downpour. You have an hour intermission that you got to deal with, and there's a real strategy about keeping that team up. And then we have to kick 2 field goals to get in a position to tie that ball game. And you know, a lot of time, okay, Corey Little is just a phenomenal weapon, but in wet conditions, we've got good snaps and good holds to execute those. Right. And I just thought you might want to talk a little bit about that unit.
Well, I think that anytime that you have a kicking game, regardless of whether it be the punting team or whether it be the PAT and field goal, those kids, we work those kids pretty hard. They get their work before practice and during practice, because it looks it looks easy when you see this all the time unfold, but you've got to snap the ball, you've got to catch the ball, you've got to set the ball, and all that time that kicker's got to be moving, and you've got roughly about 1.5 seconds to get all this done. So it's not one of those things that everybody looks at and says, "Oh, that's all being automatic." I said it doesn't take much for that sequence to get off stride a little bit. So those kids have worked hard, and Corey takes a lot of pride in what he's doing, and like I said, we're getting some unity coming together, and the two field goals are real big, and it is great to have a weapon that you can use like that, because anything, you know, we feel like within probably the 20-yard line, we've got a shot at putting some points on the board.
Yeah. And Coach, you know, there's so much to talk about. Frank obviously just played a tough game where he was grinding it out. Michael, the names that we often hear because of the positions they play. But you know, to cap a game off, we go into overtime. They've got a great full house backfield. It's going to come from anywhere. It's hard to read. We dig in, and how to cap that game off with Patrick Price, who really, I thought, played a nice game, but how fitting for him not only to get in there, tip that ball, and then actually bring it down to close that game. How fitting was that?
That was great. I think, again, that's a confidence thing. I think our kids, I know defensively, Coach Gengelbach, the young Coach Gengelbach, as they call him, he did it. You know, he's worked very hard with the defense. Coach Rink with the offense has done. I mean, he's got a tremendous feel for the offense. I laugh. I tell him, I said, you know, you're a very conservative individual, but I said, when it comes to playing the game, I said, you're pretty wide open. I said, you're sort of a riverboat gambler. But I tell you, they did a wonderful job keeping, I thought, everybody off balance a little bit. We had a great mix of run, and pass, and then we're trying to do that real hard, and then, like I said, with the defense, I think that we've had probably this year 3 or 4 of the best defensive goal line stands we've had in a long time.
Absolutely.
Even at North Putnam,
yes.
Right before half, we held them out when they were on the 3-yard line, and then last night in the overtime. And you're right, the offense that Southridge runs is one you don't see very often anymore. They have a lot of misdirection, and I think the key to their success is the speed that they have. They've got kids that traditionally that can run, and anytime you've got kids that can run, they're a threat. Just like the beginning of right after the rain delay for an hour, the Raisner boy broke an 85-yard run, and I mean, he moved down the field very well. I mean, he's quick, and so I mean, I thought we really did a good job understanding where we needed to be on the field, what our responsibilities were, not getting caught up in all the misdirection, and really trying to get them to bring the ball to us a little bit, and not getting ourselves put in a position where we were chasing, because we were not going to win that race.
Well, and how wonderful. I mean, the team didn't panic at that point after that long run, 19-6, and you talk about you deal with adversity. They just showed themselves that they can do that regardless of the conditions.
We stressed it like we do every team, but we really worked with this bunch of kids in the fact that with this day and age of football, and I mean, it is different than when some of you guys played. Everybody's spread all over the field for the most part. Even Southridge, when they are in their, they're stretching you different ways. There's vertical stretch, horizontal stretch, and what they getting our kids to do is to understand where the dangers come from in the offenses, and I think they're starting to see that, and that'll help us, I think, as the year goes on.
Okay, well, you know, one thing that was wonderful last night was we had a huge turnout here for another home game, and